Welcome. We're back. This is Two Monkeys on a Microphone. I'm joined here by Ethan as usual. We just checked. This is episode 8. So I can't believe I'd say this every time, but I can't believe we're still going. Who would have known that we'd be dumb enough to keep this podcast going for so long? But anyway, today Ethan twisted my arm once again, and we are talking about success. I don't know what we're going to be bringing new to the table, but Ethan has told me he has great ideas. Topics that you will have never heard of before. So I am interested, just like you, to see what Ethan has to tell us. I'm expecting like groundbreaking stuff here, like we're going to the moon sort of material. Anyway, how about if you tell us what you've been thinking of, Ethan?
Thank you, Jacques. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. Jacques, it's great that we have 8 episodes. It is exciting. It is kind of surprising as well. But I think we can go 50. Like
50?
How hard
oh
can
my
it?
Goodness.
How hard?
Wow, 50, eh? Why don't you say 100 next?
It's possible, as long as you don't hate me or whatever. Anyway.
You know, my mental health is already pretty bad here. I feel like doing 50 episodes with you won't help one bit.
So today we're going to talk about success. I feel like it's a great topic to talk about, not in the traditional sense, like, let's talk about 5 steps you can do to become extremely successful or whatever. But I just feel like we're in our 20s, we're about to graduate soon, and it's a good time to reflect on what we think about success and what we wanted to do later on. And we'll give some thoughts about success as a general idea and why it may matters or not. And the cool thing about this episode is that it actually happened right after I met a very cool person. He, if we're talking about like success, he probably knows it all. He's Dr. Morn Meldal from Copenhagen, Denmark. Great guy. So he was the one that gave me a strong impression, and that's why I want to do this episode. But anyway, let's jump right into it. So I guess the question I want to ask first, John, is how do you define success? Like, what is it? What is it to you?
Well, it's basically what whatever isn't my current state now. I'm just joking. Success. I have a little bit of a humble notion of success. I think as long as you're happy, you feel accomplished, and you have a lot of people around you who are also happy, you're pretty successful.
Okay.
Now, I think there are levels to success. So maybe people around me could be happier. Maybe I could be happier. But that's a very general-ish definition of success.
So,
how about you, Ethan? What's your definition of success?
Oh, me? Well, I was going to ask you some questions, but
well, this isn't very fair here. Why is it always like on this podcast? I like give my definition, and then I feel like I'm the the person getting interviewed here.
Well, this is your turn, and then my turn will come next.
Yes. So what do you think success is, Ethan?
Okay.
Why don't you tell me? I'm turning the tables on you now.
All right. If I have to give you like a very short answer, I think it's my general well-being. That's health, and that's my mental health, and physical health and mental health. I think that's my idea of success. Like, I want to be, healthy, and also I don't have to think about like healthy in terms of that's literally what I said. But yeah, that's like the short answer. But like the long answer is I don't know. The more complicated answer is like I don't know. I don't know. It could be money. It could be family. It could be friends. But right now, I just don't have a clear goal I want to achieve, which sometimes I think about. But yeah, that's how I view success. Okay, now question. So as you're growing up, people tend to talk about what success is. Like your parents, maybe they go to your relative place and they be like, "Oh, hey, Jimmy is marrying someone soon, and that's big, that's huge." What about you, Jacques? What do you think about marrying someone soon?
Marrying someone soon? Okay, well, a lot of my friends are marrying,
Okay.
which is kind of depressing. I'm not
Okay.
that old. I know the viewers are probably thinking, wow, Jacques, you must be like in your 30s. I'm not in my 30s yet, guys. There's still hope for me. But yes, a lot of my elementary school friends are either dating or married. And my thoughts on it, I think it's pretty nice. I wish I was married or dating. Actually, let me kind of change my answer a bit.
Okay.
Maybe it's too soon for me to marry yet. I
Right.
think I respect people who marry very young, but it's not something I want to do.
Okay.
Dating,
Yep.
maybe that's something I can do.
Okay. So in your definition, it's not a measure of success. Like you don't think that, you know, you marrying is gonna be.
I think it's a measure of success. I
Oh,
just
really?
think there's
Okay.
many different measures of success, and that's one of them.
Okay.
So
Okay. Then what will be
Yeah.
the most important measure of success to you?
I think being able to live independently, but also to provide things for others. So
Right.
I don't I think you could live in like a cave and be independent,
Right.
but it wouldn't be what I'd call successful. I think you'd have to live in a cave and do something for someone else. Like, I don't know what you can do in a cave that would help someone else, but I'm sure there's something. Maybe do some cave drawings that like will eventually benefit someone in the long run.
Right. Right. What about in school? Like, do people have the idea of success, and they talk about it? Like, for example, for my case, right, in Vietnam, it's a developing country. Things are getting better in every metrics possible, and I feel like in our culture, our definition of success is pretty predetermined by people around you, right? So if we talk about success, that means at your in your 20, you must graduate college, all right? You must graduate, and then after that, you have to get a job. And the first thing you have to do is family. Like you have to have a family, you have to have kids, you have to have a car, and you have to have a house. So that's what people trying to aim for. You can ask like pretty much everyone. I feel like everyone. You can ask pretty much every Vietnamese, young Vietnamese, of course, and ask you like, what do people around you think about success? And that's what they're gonna tell you. Like, it's a predetermined path. And I'm kind of curious, like, do people in Canada have a sort of mindset? Like, do people have the general idea that people are trying to go for? Because that's definitely the case here.
I think like many places definitely have that mindset. And so of course Canada has that mindset too. But maybe it's a little bit more open here. I like mostly it's just about getting a job.
Right. Okay.
Most parents want their kids to get a job, and I'm pretty sure that's the same all over the world.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think if you're like you, Ethan, if your mom had a choice, should my son be married or should my son have a job? She'd choose my son should have a job before he gets married.
Right.
But yes, maybe after you get married, then comes the wife and then the children and then taking care of the children. I think less and less people are concerned about the children. They're more concerned about, boy, I wish my son would move out by now and actually do something with his life.
Right.
Or my daughter.
Okay.
However, I think the internet also has opened up many different possibilities that people didn't have in the past. And those can be a measure of success too, right? So your follower count, how many people like your posts and things like that. And eventually, if enough people like your posts and enough people watch your YouTube videos and your podcast episodes, you're able to get a ton of money and actually make use of the podcast, the time you spent making that podcast with that idiot host that you have. Right? Yeah.
Right. Okay. Do you think that your definition of success can be changed? Like for one day you'll be like, oh, like I want a Lamborghini. Like that's gonna make me so happy. And do you think that later on you can be like, oh, you know what? I don't really want it.
Okay, Ethan.
What?
This is what I want. I know
Okay.
some people in the world,
Uh-huh.
they're looking to get a Bugatti, a Lamborghini,
Right.
a cool car, a big mansion,
Sure.
a very hot, wife.
Uh-huh.
I'd be happy having my own piece of land out in the middle of nowhere. Me, my land, my shotgun, and make sure no one else comes onto my land. I'm sounding like the cave dweller now, but
Exactly.
yes, I am on my piece of land with a few farm animals. I have a house. The house is very small, but
Okay.
it has a giant basement.
land,
So it looks
okay.
like it's like your standard farmer's house.
Okay.
But really it's like, Batman's lair underneath. And I ever so often invite my friends over, but it's just me and my land at the end of the day.
Okay.
And we're together. However, I realize my dream is unrealistic. In this world, you need to get a job. You need to find potential partners and all that stuff. So I have to relegate my vision of success to fantasy.
Oh, okay. So that opens up a really interesting question. Would you cave in the reality and give up on your vision of success, or you kind of
How many people cave at the end of the day, Ethan?
Well, not everyone,
You can never
certainly.
have exactly what you want. I'm
Exactly.
sure many people would love to be on a yacht somewhere. They don't even need to worry about working. They just get the money pours in naturally.
Sure. Okay.
But I think everyone has to make exceptions.
Right.
And that's myself included. So I will never be able to have my own piece of land, my own shotgun.
Never?
And make sure that no long-haired, glasses wearing, Vietnamese dude steps on my land without my permission.
My goodness. Okay.
So what's your vision of success? Ethan?
What?
I've shared my fantasy.
Sure. Okay.
Now it's your time.
Okay, my fantasy would be. I don't know where I'm gonna end up in the next 10 years. I don't know. I don't have a fixed idea of what success would be in the next 10 years. But I don't imagine myself owning a land, owning a shotgun, myself being this crazy uncle that everyone knows, everyone loves him, no one likes him. I don't want to be that uncle in the family. But I do have the idea of myself living abroad, elsewhere in the world, maybe getting higher education, maybe graduate school, being able to afford that. So I think that's my idea of success. I think that's where I want myself to be. I don't think it's too far off from reality, but I don't think it's very easy at the same time.
I think your vision of success is pretty lame, Ethan. But that's just
Oh,
my
yeah.
opinion.
Beat me up. Yeah, sure. You tell me. Hey, as long as I'm successful in my terms, I think I'm pretty good. Okay, so
Okay, I could give you a realistic answer, but I chose to give you my honest, truthful
all right.
opinion on success.
Okay, well, yeah. See, when it comes to success, I don't really have a big fantasy. The bar is pretty low for me.
You see,
John.
this is the difference between me and a plebeian. The great minds, they think of great things, but the small minds think about small things.
Right.
Getting a BEd, or what was it again? Getting some kind of higher education? Who needs that kind of education when you have a shotgun and a whole big piece of land?
Sure. Okay, tell me more about your fantasy. Is it just like the shotgun in the land in the house? Like, is there anything else? Like, do you think about the farm animals you have? Like,
Have you ever thought about like, do you really own this?
what do you mean?
Okay, name a possession.
A phone?
You really own that phone?
Well, 80% of me saying that. Yeah, I do own that phone. I pay for that bitch.
Okay, maybe partially you own it.
Yeah, partially.
But I have my land in the middle of nowhere, no government, no like interference from abroad, and I have that shotgun. It's my land. You ain't stepping on that. That is true freedom, Ethan.
Well, you don't have to pay taxes, buddy.
Hey, did I ever say I was under, in a government, like in Canada or in America? This is
Okay.
my private island.
Okay.
I bought it.
Sure. Off in nowhere.
Again, small minds. They can't see the big picture.
Okay. All right, buddy. Okay. So now that's kind of related to the question I'm about to ask you, and this is the whole reason why I want to do this episode. What are you willing to give up for your success? Like people want to say that, oh, I want to have a beach body, right? I want to have high grades. I want to have
Beach body.
yeah.
Really? I've
Yeah.
never heard that before. Like, yeah, people have said I want a six pack,
Well,
but I don't think many people want to be out there on the freezing cold beach in Canada.
well, it's Canada. Well, I'm talking about like places that you don't have
Okay, how many beaches are there in Vietnam?
a lot. Well, I mean, we have like I think half of our borders like share with the sea, so
Okay.
plenty of beaches.
And how many people go to the beaches? What's the percentage?
I'm talking about like 50%, because like 50% of our population
Sure,
is like
50%.
okay.
When you go to the beach, how many beach bodies do you see?
I mean, technically, 100%, but
Okay, so then what? Like, if 100% have beach bodies, then why is it something that they want to attain?
because then the other 50% of the population would be like, oh, you know what? I want to go to the beach. I totally can, but I don't want to go to the beach. I don't want to.
I'm not seeing this image, Ethan. I'm not seeing this image. But okay, let's say
just
yes.
focus on the questions.
I get the idea here.
Okay.
You have to give up something to become successful.
Right.
Are you willing to do it?
Yes.
Are you willing to, cut an eye out to become successful?
Exactly. Now back to your fantasy, right? Okay. Now you're saying that you own a land in the middle of nowhere. No body of government will be able to
Yes,
track you down.
This is my property. Mine.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. So you're saying that you're willing to give up your family,
I never said that. I said this is pure fantasy.
Okay.
This is my ideal. This is
Okay.
like Plato's, ideal form. Unattainable on the human, planet. Yes, technically, maybe I could attain it.
Okay.
But realistically, there's no way that I'd be rich enough or dumb enough
Dumb
to actually go out there and live on a deserted island for the rest of my life
Or
with
crazy.
a shotgun. That's my only companion. However, in my ideal world,
Uh-huh.
I'd love to do that.
Okay. So let's talk reality.
Okay, reality.
Hmm.
So now you want me to give you, like my reality. I'm going to go out and get a B.Ed, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go out there and get a B.Ed and like that kind of reality. the small-minded thing, right?
Small mind. Sure.
Well, it's kind of hard because when you have a big mind, it's hard to kind of get back into like
My
that
bad.
small
Yeah, sorry.
small mind mentality.
Sorry
But
for,
I'll try my best. I'll try my best.
Okay, buddy.
I think being successful isn't about how much money you have.
Okay,
And-
that's a good start.
I know a lot of people agree with that,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think money is important.
Okay,
And
yep.
I'm not that person who's like, oh, well, it's how many people you helped along the way. That's good. That's nice. But I like money. Money helps you feel secure. It's practical.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to feel comfortable with the amount of money I have.
Okay.
But when I think about success,
Mhm.
I think about fame. I'd rather be famous than have a lot
Oh.
of money.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'd rather be like the artist who cut his ear off and like shot himself 10 times and died tragically, but is remembered, throughout the rest of history, than be that like rich guy who like lived his life comfortably, didn't shoot himself like 10 times and cut his ear off, and then died and was forgotten.
So you want to be remembered.
I think that would be like if I had the choice of the two.
Okay.
It's kind of like that train track thing where there's
Okay.
5 people on the track and there's 1 people on the track, and you can divert the rail.
Okay.
In this case, it's like money on the track, and then like I don't know, the paintbrush that lets you paint the Mona Lisa. I'd have the train hit the money.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Oh, would you not do that? Would you choose the comfortable option, Ethan? Are you kind of a little bit of a comfortable person?
Well, certainly not, because we'll get to me part later. But so you're saying that money is important to you, but you're not gonna give up everything so that you'll get all the money in the world. But you get fame, right? And you want to
Yes,
be
yes.
remembered. So when
So how about you? What's your answer? You see, you always do this. You say, "Oh well,
Well-
you've answered my question.
Well,
Now
I
let's
mean-
go on to the next question."
No,
Jacques."
no. Like,
And then you don't answer it yourself.
like the whole point is that I ask you all the questions about you, and
Okay, we're both hosts here.
Okay.
We have equal.
This is gonna be my turn.
Yes, I know you have this idea in your mind. Oh well, I do all the editing. I like upload all the videos. I reply to all the emails. I do all that, and like all that stuff. But yeah, we can forget about that. On here, we're equal, Ethan. Yes, I don't do any work on this thing, but we're equal. I don't come up with any questions or anything like that. But that's behind the scenes. When we're at the present moment here, you sitting across from me, we're equal.
All right. Like the point I'm trying to make here is that I ask you all the questions, and then you can ask me all the questions that you can think of. That's the idea. I'm going through my question that I have for you. But sure, you ask me. I think that money is also not something very important to me. But then what I'm willing to give up for money is another question. But I think that at a certain point, money is not gonna matter. Like, for example, if you live in a developing country, you make barely $10,000 a year, then from $10,000 to $50,000, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's a big jump, right? But then from $50,000 to I don't know $80,000, I don't feel like it's gonna matter much because I already have a bunch of money lying around, right? So that's basically my answers. I want to be comfortable, living comfortable. Maybe not too comfortable, but at least I feel secure and safe. That's what I think.
So you like to copy my answer.
Oh,
That's your answer. You basically just could have said, Jacques, I liked your
This
answer.
is why I
Your
don't-
answer is my answer.
this is why I don't.
Okay, one person said coming up before the podcast,
Okay.
I'm going to make it unique. I'm not going to make it like your everyday, podcast where you just repeat jargon. And who's repeating the jargon right now, right? And who's coming up with the original answer, saying that he's going to live it on an island with a gun. And that's his ideal way of living. I had big expectations for you, Ethan. I had big expectations.
Oh my goodness.
Next question, please.
Can you let me finish the
I'm the
elaborate?
center here. I see it now. I see why you ask me all the questions. It's because I'm the important one here. I'm the heavy lifter.
Sure, buddy.
Okay, finish.
Okay, so you're telling me that you want to be remembered. What would you willing to give up for your fame? I would say because remember Van Gogh, all right? He's famous. He's well known. He is all over the place. But let's remember that he had a very miserable life, right? He was lonely. He didn't have a very exciting life as people would imagine, and he certainly didn't do it because of fame. He didn't do it because
Okay. Let me take this question, give it a little bit of an interesting spin.
Okay, sure.
Let's say you're Caesar.
Right.
Was it Caesar? Who's the guy who got stabbed in the back a whole
It's
bunch
Caesar.
of times? Yes, okay. I know my history well.
Okay.
Caesar.
Right.
Would you be willing to be as famous as Caesar?
Uh-huh.
Let's just say you got the money, you're the emperor, you're all that.
Uh-huh.
But at the end, you get stabbed in the back a whole bunch of times by your best friends. Are you willing to make the trade?
I won't. No.
You won't.
I
Okay,
won't.
You could have everything.
I could have
the
everything.
women, the country,
No.
the ships,
The ship.
the diamonds, whatever you want. Cleopatra, wasn't Cleopatra like in love with Caesar too? You'd like have all of Egypt too. And you know, maybe a minute of getting stabbed in the back repeatedly, screaming out in pain. That's
No.
all you'd have to give up.
No shock. I don't like the idea
Seems
of me.
like a fair trade to me.
No, for me,
Think
I don't.
of how many people die in brutal ways, right? You could be like, you could die in a brutal way and you just don't know about it. It's just this case, you do know about it.
Okay.
You do know how you're going to die
Mm.
and that it's not going to be like asleep.
Okay. 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 To answer this, you have to know me, as someone who is very particularly pays attention
Mesh.
to small problems and the bad things going to happen. For me, sure, I may have everything. I may know that I have everything that I could possibly imagine in the world. But I don't know if I'm going to be happy with everything. So having everything is not something I'm going to focus on.
You have two countries.
Look, buddy, like,
power
okay,
of
let's
two
imagine,
countries under you.
let's talk about this, okay?
You could even retire. Like, you don't even have to manage them. You just retire and be like, I'm hoarding all these jewels. Don't worry, you don't need to assassinate me right away because I'm not coming back. I'm done. You can rule the country. Just give me the money and I'm good here. And then, you know, eventually you get stabbed in the back a whole bunch by your friends. But, like, you could do anything. You have endless possibilities. And you're saying, oh, well, something could go wrong. Something could go wrong in your life right now. Like, there's no difference. It's just one person has a ton of money and the other person is like a long-haired Vietnamese kid who's talking about how he wants to do a B.Ed at some point. And you're telling me you can't take 1 minute of pain, getting stabbed in the back repeatedly, kicked on the floor, have like wine spilt over you, people like cursing you out for a full minute. That's all like.
Okay, buddy.
And
Okay.
you'd be remembered too. You'd be remembered as that guy who got stabbed in the back a whole bunch of times.
Exactly. Like that's the point. That's like what I'm trying to say here. Okay. If you let me say it. Okay. If you have everything, that's gonna be exciting for the next, I don't know, few months, right? You get all the money, you get all the booze, you get all the girls, you party all days, you do everything that you can possibly imagine, everything, right? You can go to the moon if you want to, right? And then after all of that, what do you have? You have your best friend stabbing you multiple times in the back, and then people will remember you for it. Is it a good trait? Like,
That might happen to you anyway. You might be like driving in the passenger seat with like your friend driving, and like a semi is coming towards you guys, and the friend knows that like, oh, well, it's either me or him. Well, might as well just like crunch him, and that's like the way you go out. And like getting hit by a semi ain't fun. I'll tell you that much. You might think it's instant, but like. You're seeing that thing coming in slow motion, and you think, "Oh shit, this is the end." So, like, think of it. You have all the resources. You could like donate all the money to like a charity, and that would be like your life. They would know you as the guy who like was so benevolent.
So,
He gave
okay.
all his money to charity, and then got stabbed in the back like a whole bunch of times.
Then what's the point? Like, I still don't see the point. Because, like, okay. Because I have.
I get it. You're a whip. We can end here.
Okay, you give me
Ask your question. I provided a good question. with a good, theory. What's your theory? What are you going to provide that will catch me off guard?
Okay.
You can come up with a scenario if you like.
No, I'm just gonna ask you a very simple question. Don't you think about that? Like, okay, you can have everything, right? But what if everything is not enough? Like, have you ever thought of one day you can be like, oh, on your land, you're like, yeah, I did it. I bought the stupid piece of land in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
Okay.
Going back to the Caesar. Like, I wanted to just say goodbye to this.
Okay.
But look, you say everything's not enough.
Right.
Would you rather feel unfulfilled and poor or unfulfilled and rich?
Well, certainly unfulfilled and rich.
So, point proven here.
No. Okay.
Look, I'll tell you. Life isn't about being rich.
Of course.
It's not about security.
Yeah.
The reason I brought up the Caesar thing is not only are you rich and famous, but you have the opportunities to do a lot. You can fix people's lives. You can make your nation great again. You can do a whole bunch of things. I probably shouldn't have said great again. That kind of reminds you of America. But you can make your nation prosperous. And you will also be remembered. Yeah, it's getting stabbed in the back a whole bunch of times. But Caesar is also respected for other things, right?
Sure.
Like, people mainly remember him for getting stabbed in the back a whole bunch of times. But, like, think of Van Gogh, yeah. He's basically mostly remembered for, like, cutting his ear off or, like, other weird stuff. Dying poor. I think, like, people know Van Gogh's name, but they actually don't know many of his paintings. Like, can you name one painting, Ethan?
Something about Sky Night. I don't know. Maybe.
Starry Night, Sky Night.
See, that's like
You're the problem.
No, I don't think that's my problem. I think I don't think that's anyone's problem. I don't care.
So I'm saying, like, the main way of getting famous is like to have this tragic story attached to you.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's not entirely true. But tragic story definitely helps to boost your fame to another level. Which means
Yeah.
unfulfillment sucks. And yes, being rich doesn't necessarily mean you'll be fulfilled, but it means that you'll have opportunities that you won't have otherwise. If I had a choice to be rich, though, or to be famous, I'd choose to be famous over being rich. I'm not saying money should be the goal. I'm just saying the mentality that money equals unfulfillment, I think, is a bit of fallacy, because that isn't exactly the case.
See, well, this is where, like, there's one flaw in your logic. It's because you're assuming that, okay, so when I'm gonna be poor, you left out one thing, right? You have all the money, you have all the options in the world, but at the end of the day, none of those options matter. Because think of it, like, if you have every option in the world, then no option will be special. If you're poor, if some guy came up to you and gave you a piece of bread, that would be like your day. That'd be like, oh my goodness. You know? What I'm trying to say here is that when everything, like, when you have every option in your hands, I don't think everything that I'll do will matter. And that's where I think I'm different from you. I don't want fame. I don't want every option in the world. I don't want... And I certainly don't want to get stabbed in the back. Okay?
I didn't think I'd be vouching for the rich people in this podcast. Because again, my goal isn't money here.
Right.
But I have to say, just because you're rich doesn't mean you have every option in the world.
Well, you're talking about...
These rich people, like, there's the negative idea, which is these rich people keep buying bigger and bigger boats in order to, like, prove that they're the richer of the richest people.
Right.
However, there are also the rich people who give to charities, who, like, donate tons of money to different charities and try and, like, up their reputation. There are goals that rich people try and accomplish, just like poor people. Now, they do it much more comfortably. There isn't as much of a challenge in front of them. So if you want to say that when you're rich, you're not as challenged as much, However, opportunity, like I don't think just because you're rich, you're able to do you have you're able to do everything. You've like there's barriers even for rich people, right?
Of course. I mean, yeah, that's I know. But like the example you brought up, you clearly mentioned to me that I could have everything, every option.
I didn't say. I said you have two nations under your control.
No,
You
you
have
did say
money,
everything.
You have all this stuff. I said you have a lot of things, and you just don't want to get stabbed in the back a whole
No,
bunch of
yep.
times. by your
My
friends.
point still stands. I would not get stabbed in the back, even though I run two countries. I can do everything that I can. I have more options. I still don't think
Okay,
it's
let's pretend wealth out of it,
okay.
fame out of it.
Okay,
Let's say you're presented with a scenario
right.
where you're like you go in for I don't know some kind of minor medical need. Your finger starts bleeding, and for
Okay.
some reason you go to the hospital to get that fixed.
Okay,
And the doctor comes to you and is like, Ethan,
right.
like I can't believe this, but when we did your general checkup, you know, right after we fixed your finger,
Okay,
we discovered you have these organs that like are sought after. These organs are like the special organs. They can basically restore life to the dead. And there's 3 dying children
Okay.
in the next room.
Uh
And if you give your life right now, you can save these 3 children. And one of them is going to find the cure to cancer. We just believe it. He's so smart, or she's so smart.
huh. Okay.
Would you do that?
No
Would you
fame.
be like,
no
"Sure,
money.
doctor.
Okay.
Here's my organs. Give them to the children. I'll be remembered throughout history for being the guy who like saved the child who came up with the cure to cancer." I know it's very, very kind of.
I know. Yeah,
fantasy
yeah.
oriented,
No, I
but
get
I
it.
think you get the moral
I do.
moral thing. Here.
Yeah. In a fantasy world where everyone is perfect.
This isn't a fantasy world. This is you decide. It's like the trolley.
I know.
question.
But I'm talking about like my moral
Okay,
compass
okay.
here. Like,
Sure,
if,
sure.
if in the perfect world where everywhere is perfect, everything is perfect, I'm perfect, and my moral compass is perfect, I will say yes.
Okay. How's this?
Okay.
So same scenario,
All right.
but instead you realize that if you did it, you'd get stabbed a whole bunch of times by your friends in the back. Would you still do it?
See, like, I was already gonna say no, but now I'm getting stabbed too. Then no.
Okay, so you were gonna say no to begin
wait,
with.
hold-
I knew it. It's just like-
wait. Let's make a distinction here. Like, am I getting stabbed because I'm donating the organs, or like I'm just getting stabbed anyway?
I'm just saying it's like a byproduct
By
of donating your organs.
Okay, a
You
byproduct.
get stabbed a whole bunch of times by your friends, and look them in the eyes as they like stare into your fading soul.
because like okay, the question is like different now because like
Because you brought this whole up with sacrifice. You're like, oh well, if you want greatness, you have to sacrifice it. So I'm just upping the stakes here. I'm saying like you could feel fulfilled. You are helping the future. You're responsible for the cure of cancer. It's just you have to make a pretty big sacrifice. Okay, maybe stabbing's a little harsh. Let's say your friends get cups of acid and they pour it on you. And then you die from that
I don't.
while you're sleeping.
Okay, here's
Yeah, while you're sleeping. So like by the
Jack.
time you wake up, you're probably almost already dead.
I get it. But like, here's the thing: you're talking about sacrifices, right? But the question that I'm having right now is the sacrifice that you're willing to make in order to reach that success. With your scenario and with your question, the question is like giving out like you already reached that success. You're not giving out anything in order to reach anything further, right? So at that
I
point,
disagree. But okay, let's make it more like realistic. Because I don't think you like this whole idea of getting stabbed in the back a whole bunch by your friends. I don't think most people would either. You have a job. Okay, what do you want to do in the future? You said you want to B-Ed, right?
Right.
Let's say you go and you're at a bar and you're talking to this guy. He's really drunk. He slaps girls on the ass, but he says, I like you very much. I can get you in to any university you want.
Okay.
And you'll probably only have to pay 25% of your B-Ed. Would you do it? Would you be willing to have this sleazebag, be in debt to this sleazebag just to get your B-Ed?
Of course not. No.
No. Oh, okay. So you're not willing to sacrifice very much, Ethan.
Well, I'm willing to sacrifice something else. I'm not going to sacrifice that to that guy.
Okay.
Right.
So how's this?
Okay.
You stumble upon a job at a hospital.
Sure.
And the job is to do experiments on rats.
Okay.
So they have a whole bunch of rats in cages, and they say, you're going to be like, putting needles in these rats, putting all these weird chemicals in them, and we're going to see how they react.
Okay.
And in return,
Okay.
if you do this for, let's not even say 10 years. Let's just say you have to do this for a year.
Okay.
We will pay for your school. However, you still have to continue this for 5 years, while you're going to school. So you do it for a year, and then you qualify to get your school paid for, but you have to stay in this rat facility for while you're doing school, and experiment on these rats.
You
do it.
Is it for a good cause at least? Is it like for cancer? Or
Maybe
something?
it is. Like, yes, it could. It possibly could be. Like, it's in a hospital, so
Right.
they're probably testing out,
Okay.
viruses and things like that. But these rats are looking at you like, save us, Ethan.
You know
I
what?
want to be here.
I'm doing for a good cause, and they pay for my school. I'll say yes.
Oh, you're convincing yourself that's for a good cause.
Of course.
But when you have to look those rats in the eyes as you're like putting these needles in them, you'll know in the back of your mind that you're a terrible person for doing this.
Well,
But you would do it. You would do it.
I would do it.
Okay.
I would do it. I would give up my.
So rats aren't as valuable as.
Well, now that we're touching a very complicated.
As humans. I see.
Yeah.
Their life doesn't matter. Thousands of cows die every day just so that we can eat.
Well, I do care about cows.
But you don't care about rats. Ah, I see. So they're lower down the chain of animals.
Oh, come on. Now you're framing me.
Well, that's what you're saying. You're willing to basically kill rats for let's say 5 years in order for them to pay for you.
I remember this is like, I think they did research on this once. Like, people would do bad things, but like only the bad things will not a very noticeable consequences, right? But anyway, my point is, yeah, I'm gonna be front with you. Sure, rat, they can die. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I see what kind of person.
Sure.
To be honest, I'd rather owe a favor to a sleazebag than have to look at those rats in the eyes for 5 years and inject them. I know, I don't, I don't necessarily support the morals of the guy. I don't like being under him. But at the end of the day, I don't have to share his views, right? I just have to say, yeah, thanks, man. And then do my university and maybe ever so often go to one of his parties or something like that. But I think I'd be able to do that over having to kill rats for. I don't know. I just feel like I'd feel like I'd lose part of myself injecting these rats with fluids.
That's well, yeah.
But I'd lose part of myself anyway by owing a favor to
This lazy guy.
this dude who.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
I'm
say
imagining this really terrible dude.
right. Let's say. Well, while you're under him, well, things are going great. You know, you're doing your college and stuff. Let's say in 3 years, he's gonna get involved in something nasty, like something like people couldn't imagine, right? I'm not talking about like genocide or anything.
I'm not involved. I just
You're not involved. Sure.
his face.
You're not involved. You're not like a co-crime or something. Like you do the thing with them. But on the like on the press something like he said on the press, he'd be like, oh yeah, I did terrible thing. Who cares? But you know what? At least I know that Jacques will be with my side on this whole thing. And somehow he got you involved into it.
I never agreed to be on his side. I just said thank you for the favor.
Yeah, no,
and
no.
a few of his parties.
No, of course.
But, okay, you're adding this condition in. Where, like, I've part of the agreement for him to pay my B.Ed, even though I don't want to do a B.Ed. It's your dream to do a
well,
B.Ed.
We're talking about like...
yes. Let's say it's my dream in this case. And part of the agreement is that I'm with him till death.
Right.
I've got his back no matter what. Well, and then for some reason, I get like brought into this whole situation, and like I'm in a terrible situation. Well, I think I deserve what I got. Like when you do a deal with the devil, you expect that there's something wrong that's going to happen. I'm just saying I would rather do a deal with the devil than have to kill a whole bunch of rats, even though many people hate rats. I hate killing spiders and ants. When I was little, I didn't mind killing ants. But when I got older, yeah, all forms of life are all forms of life,
Yeah.
Who am I to judge, whether a rat is less valuable than a cow?
Interesting.
You see?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monkey. Big monkey. Small monkey. Tiny monkey. So everyone, what do you think of Ethan? I think he's a bit of a strange person. His morals kind of seem a bit messed up, killing a whole bunch of rats. But, weirdos be weirdos. Hi everyone, we're back. Ethan just had to have a little bit of a break to the bathroom.
You don't have to say that.
Left me alone.
I was just gonna like cut it through the questions.
Unfortunately, well, he says he's going to be cutting it out, but I had a bit of a conversation heart to heart with you about my thoughts of Ethan. But I guess that won't make it in the video. So just kind of use your imagination, just like how I used my imagination for kind of my ideal, my goals in life. And yeah, let's continue on. So we're just talking about how Ethan likes killing rats.
Oh my goodness.
And how I am part of the mafia.
About the point. I guess that's a wrapped up as well. I mean, I feel that we're going a little bit sidetracked because now it's touching to the whole like, oh, do you think all life should be valued at the same time? Which I think I'm not qualified to talk about this sort of stuff. So when I asked you this,
topic for the next episode,
maybe yes. But the reason why I'm asking you this is because I would like to know, like, what matters to you the most when you're, chasing your goal. Like, what would you be willing to give up? And I think like it's an interesting question to ask because it says a lot about you. And
there was once where I was like, I can't give up my sleep to become successful. I need my sleep. I want to be young and live forever.
Oh my God.
And as I grow older and older, I get less and less sleep. So that's one thing I had to give up. It wasn't really voluntarily, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Something else is like, eventually you have to learn how to drive, which
Right.
like some people enjoy that.
Uh-huh.
I didn't enjoy it particularly, but yeah, you have to kind of like give up your comforts, leave the safe zone, and realize that every day there's a risk that you might, your expensive vehicle might get in an accident,
Right.
and then you have to pay insurance for that said vehicle, or like the repair cost. And that is a very sad, sad day in your life.
Okay, one scenario. Let's say you're not gonna make a lot of money, right? Whatever it is that you're doing, you're not gonna make a lot of money. Well, still you can bring food to the table, but you're gonna struggle a little bit, just a tad bit. That you can feel it. You can feel it every time you go to bed. But you're doing the thing that you love.
Isn't that just life? Like, even if you're not doing the thing you love, you're always just struggling and barely.
Okay, let's
by.
say there's two options, right? Someone come up to you and be like, "Hey, do you want this corporate job? It's boring, it's soul sucking, you don't sleep a lot, but it pays you a fuck ton of money." On the other hand, you're doing the thing that you like. It's not paying well, but you're happy. You get somewhat of a good sleep at night, and you go home and you look at yourself and you can see yourself in it. Would you trade it? Would you? I'm not saying that the other job is that bad. It just, it's not the same kind, right? But you make more money. Would you?
Like, okay, so one job, you're pretty much secured, you're getting a decent bit of money. And the other one, you're doing what you love, but you aren't really getting much money and you're
Right.
barely getting by.
Oh, and the other thing is, you're also giving away a lot of things else, like, time and stuff. Yeah, but you get the idea.
As I said, I'd rather be famous than have a lot of money. So like, I do what I love. But like, I think this is where like it becomes more of a difficult question. Would you do what you love with like a high risk that you wouldn't be successful? Like, would you still do that? Would you do that trade, even though you know that in the end you probably won't be successful or it won't go as you want it to go? So let's say you want to be a singer. Yeah, you get a few jobs at a few clubs, but you never become really admired by anyone. You're always that background singer. Would you still do that? Now, if you ask me that, I'd say probably no. I think I'd choose the standard, kind of by the book job over like doing what I love and barely making it, not being appreciated, and not really making a dent in the cultural sphere.
Okay. Huh. I guess it really depends on like the path that you want to go down, because being an artist, that sort of stuff, being appreciated, it is nice, I guess. But for me, I see it this way, right? Because I'm like doing something and I love doing it and I'm happy doing it, then I would still do it knowing that the big chance that it wouldn't success.
I think like a lot of people like to think about that ideally, but it's a lot of pressure, right?
Sure, yeah, of course.
Just because you love it, quote unquote, doesn't mean that you're always going to be loving it.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So you like playing video games. You tell yourself, I'm going to become a video game reviewer. And then you play video games as a reviewer. You realize the company, isn't very secure. Your job could, go at any moment. It's not like anyone's appreciating you as a person. They're appreciating your reviews, but they don't know who's reviewing the video games.
Right.
Or, like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not always that easy. Like, you could be doing what you love. And also, like, as things move on, maybe there's no video games that you really like to play anymore. And you don't really enjoy reviewing the video games. It's not that simple. And I believe that you have to do what you love, but you also have to be practical.
Right.
And when you're young, it's very easy to think that you're going to love something and that's going to make it practical. But it has to be practical before you kind of start it
Okay.
in some ways.
Yeah. Now, okay. Now let's spin this a little bit. Let's say it's practical. Let's say it's sustainable, somewhat. It's somewhat sustainable and somewhat practical. But there's a high chance that you're not gonna be where you want it to be, right? It's out of your control. Like you want it to be remembered, but there's a high chance that people are not gonna remember for what you think that people are gonna remember you about. And that's what I want to ask you. Like, you want it to be remembered. You want to do something that people know you about and appreciate you. But would you still do it if, like you keep doing it for like 10 years or something, and then nothing happens? It just kind of like stay the same way. You still you're still happy. You still, you still bring in the food. It's not like you're struggling.
Okay. I think if you're happy,
Right.
anyone would stay, right?
Right.
I think there are people who climb up the ladder, and that's what gives them enjoyment. But I think if there's ever if people are happy doing what they're doing, they aren't going to leave. I think that's just a general thing that many people can agree on.
Of course.
The problem is a lot of the time they're doing what they believe they love, but they aren't happy. Or they think that doing something more will make them happy. There's a job opportunity out there that will increase their happiness, or they'll go up the ladder and that will help increase their happiness.
Yeah.
This is where things get difficult. When you're looking at things pragmatically, when you're thinking about things theoretically, it makes sense. But as soon as it becomes pragmatic, then it doesn't make as much sense anymore. Which is why I think when we theorize about these things, it's very easy to say, oh, do what you love, even if you don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But when you try and put that into practice, it's a lot different. Which is why I think even like these absurd scenarios are better than kind of these general kind of statements about do what you love, because they really investigate what you're willing to sacrifice in order to be successful, right? Are you willing to get stabbed in your back by many friends in order to get that success you want?
Right.
Or are you not? Like, these extremes might seem ridiculous, but when you actually get into the working world, you realize that a lot of the time people would rather the comfortable route rather than the more excruciating one, just because it does make them happy. They realize that the comfortable route is the route that leads to happiness. Usually the excruciating one, you might feel fulfilled, but you won't be happy. You won't gain what you want to gain. You have to give up so much to get that fulfillment, to get that reputation, to get that recognition, that in the end it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Now there are rare cases where people have both, where they're able to, go through this extraneous path and then become successful and then become comfortable and then do what they love while being comfortable. But it's not always the case, especially when you're young.
Especially when you're young. Yeah. And I guess that's why I'm doing this. That's the answer I want to hear. Really good take, Jock. It's also the message that I wanted to send out. Doing this is, I'm just gonna repeat myself here. Yeah, but and just one side question, right? What did you give up in order to have everything you have right now?
Like,
let's say you have good grades in school, and you're thinking about traveling abroad or maybe doing a job outside of Regina. So, what is the sort of thing that you gave up in the years that you spent getting into that goal?
I think there are many things, but I don't think I'm alone, right?
Right, of course. No, you're not alone.
People just give up things. The biggest ones, I'm guessing, is what you're talking about, or the the hardest decisions I've made. I think it's hard. I don't look back a lot.
Okay.
Maybe you do a bit more than me.
Yep.
But one thing I can think that was a hard transition was giving up swimming.
Oh, okay.
One of my goals was to be, a big swimmer, or
Right.
to do well in swimming.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to reach the point where I was at in swimming.
Yeah.
But I can't say it was a difficult decision quitting swimming, because one of the reasons, of course, is because it was so hard to be a swimmer, especially if you wanted to make it to the Olympics. There were so many people ahead of you, even though you passed so many people
Right.
on the journey to be where you're at there. So I don't think it was a hard decision, but it was a decision that was a bit of a shock, because as soon as I finished swimming, I had to find a new direction.
Right.
Of course, I always was worried about my academics, but academics isn't necessarily the thing that fulfills you. It's something that
Secures you. Yeah.
makes you feel secure,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make you feel fulfilled necessarily. Some people, yes, but I wasn't the case. And that's where I kind of found art, and art helped me have something that I felt was my own, that made me special, and was different from the norm, from just, doing math questions all day and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it really answers your question, Ethan, but
No,
it's
it actually
kind of-
did.
it does show a little bit of a sacrifice, because in some ways I had to sacrifice my athletic career for a more artistic one.
Again, I keep saying this, and you've been saying this as well, but I really like the podcast because I really get to know you more, and that's fun.
I don't know. I feel like you know me enough already.
No, not really.
Anyway, quickly give me an example of something you had to give up, Ethan.
Sure, I was
while
gonna.
quickly write an email
Sure.
to someone that I need to write an email to.
Okay, but promise me you'll listen because I'll give you something.
I always listen. I'm a great multitasker. It's one of my
Great.
many strengths.
Okay. Well, I did give out a lot. So I think there are two things, right? The two biggest things that I gave up was friends and family. Yes. I live in the South, so currently I'm in Hanoi, which is the capital, and is also in the north of the country. My family was in the South, right? And for me, I didn't have a lot of opportunities to go to college there as much as here, because we do have plenty of school, but financially there wasn't a lot of options. So that was the biggest sacrifice I had to make. I had to leave my family, everyone that I know, everyone that I was used to, the life that I had back then. I basically just scrap that, put things in my little suitcase, and then fly over here. So that was everything that I gave up for. I don't think it impacts me as much, but I certainly don't have a lot of things that normal people would have, like someone to fall back down to. Maybe life is hard and you can visit your mom, so she can give you something, but she can take care of you or something like that. I don't have that options, and I think about it a lot. It's not like you notice it every day, but it's definitely there. You can feel it. You can feel like you're on your own and you gave up a lot of things, which I don't feel regret to, but I feel it. So that's family. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that I gave away my meaningful connection with people around me. In school, well, I'm not saying I don't mean to brag, but I'm pretty up there. With my achievements and stuff.
Top five.
No,
five,
shut up.
By the way, everyone.
Shut up.
Anyway, can I quickly say something, Ethan?
Sure.
I know I talk a lot.
No, sure. Go ahead.
I just want to say I bash on Ethan a lot, but one thing with Ethan is, even though he's mushy and he can get emotional sometimes, he is very brave. He moved to Hanoi from his hometown. I don't think you had anyone that you knew in Hanoi, so you
Nope.
just made the move all by yourself
Yep.
and survived. And he's also gonna make a move, like, he's coming to Canada. And he knows people in Canada, like myself, but still, that's kind of a big move. Going from a speaking country to a Canadian speaking to an English speaking country, is a big jump. He's going to be taking classes here, that are directed towards English speaking students. He's going to be alone. He only has like a limited budget. He has to manage his money well. He's a brave little monkey at the end of the day. And he's willing to make those sacrifices in order to just see the world and kind of take in new understandings.
Thank you, Jacques. That was
You're welcome.
It
It's a
means-
rare compliment.
it means a lot coming from you, actually, and I'm glad I've got it on tape. I can listen to this before I go to bed.
You better not put this as your ringtone or something. I'd never say a good thing about you ever again if you did that. Your alarm in the
But
morning will be my voice.
But viewers, this is truly meaningful because I know Shaw. He's not the kind of get sort of thing out of his system. But thank you. I really appreciate that. It is
I say good things. I do.
you do, but it's not like it happens every day, right? You just literally spend the
I like
last
to
hour
treat
just
my friends worse than my enemies. That's just my personal way of doing things.
sure.
That's how you know they're really your friends.
Exactly. The one that kicked you down the most when you don't need to. Okay. But yeah, really, I really appreciate that. And I'm really glad I know people like you to be a part of this journey. It's kind of lonely sometimes. It's tough, but as long as I have people like you in my life, I feel I can do anything. And that also
Not just me, you also have the viewers.
yes.
You've got their support too.
Exactly. They're watching this. And I just want to say that, it is scary, but as long as I have you and then all the people and all the support, I feel I can do everything. And that everything can means going to Canada and study by myself, or maybe just own a piece of land somewhere and have a shotgun for my own. And but anyway, and to finish my answer, the other thing that I gave up was the meaningful connection that I had, or I could have had with people. When you're somewhat of a figure, it's really hard to make friends. It's really hard to maintain a sort of friendship because people don't look at you the same way. And then you have all these things that you have to do, right? You have to maintain your grades. You have to do interviews. You have to give talks. You have to show up in public places, and it takes away a lot of your time and a lot of preparation.
Okay.
Yep.
I think there needs to be a bit. So, Ethan is, or was, apparently he's not anymore, but he was the top 5 student of his university. And it's not like his university is some small little university in Hanoi. It was like top 3 at one point, and now he tells me it's like top 1 in Hanoi.
In some
So,
metrics,
like,
yes.
in some metrics.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's the smartest kid in Vietnam, basically.
No,
And
I'm not.
because of that, he's very famous in the halls, and he has to do, presentations, lectures, expected to come to different places, to events and things like that. And then he's like their show pony. Look, this is what we've accomplished. This genius in front of you. I know he doesn't seem very smart on this podcast, but apparently, I don't know what metric they use in Vietnam, but it must be the same metric they use for the university because they see something in him. And that's a lot of pressure on the poor guy because he has to put on this facade as a smart, educated student when really you and we both know that he's far from that.
Exactly.
And,
That doesn't matter. The whole point I'm trying to make here is it's hard to make friends sometimes. It's really hard to make friends. It gets lonely because you don't really have time to spend with people, and they have values that are different from mine, and I saw myself in that position, and I was like, you know what, I'm ready to give that up. I want to be in a position where I can feel proud of myself, and I have to give up things, and that was one of the things that I gave up the first.
And one thing you got out of it is, this guy's not paying a cent for his journey over to Canada.
Can you?
Everything's funded by his university and my university. So, all this complaining about, oh, it's so shiny up being number one. The light's too bright up here. Remember this, viewers. He does get benefits. It's not all mournful stories here.
Sure.
I bet a lot of other students there would like a free trip to Canada, all expenses paid. Yeah, boo-hoo. I'm up in the sunny position. All these other people in the shade are like, they can make friends and things.
But yep, that's what I gave up. Yeah, I don't look back as much as you would think, but I sure do. And sometimes I think about it. I think about the friendship that I could have had, the time I could have had for myself. But
don't worry, Ethan, you got the best friend right here.
Exactly.
A person who'll kick you when you're down.
Yep, it's not
and
all
kick
bad.
You when you're up too.
It's not all bad over here, folks. It's still pretty sunny, and it's still great.
Speaking of which, I think our podcast might be an hour.
Yep.
I don't want to, they already have to listen to us for an hour. I don't think they want to listen to us.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up here. I think we covered a lot of grounds. We went through a lot of stuff. You had a pretty good time of bashing me for my life choices in hypothetical scenarios.
This crazy monkey. Now, I have an idea for next episode.
Sure.
I didn't bring this up with Ethan. It's a surprise, just like last episode where I surprised him with the girlfriend question.
Oh my goodness. Okay, go ahead.
We do a top 10. We rank something and we rank it.
Okay.
Tier list.
All right.
This idea comes from Ethan and I were looking at Vietnamese universities and judging them because we're that bad. We're terrible people.
That was
we're
so
saying,
fun.
Oh, look at these images and, look at these people and look at these students, and we're judging them.
Based on just that. Yeah.
Yes. We're even judging them on their Photoshop usage. We're like, oh, those skies, they're too blue. They should make it more realistic and things like that. So we do a top 10.
Yeah.
Next episode is a top 10 of something. I don't know what yet. It might be haircuts. It might be fast food. It could be anything. So it's a surprise next week.
Right.
We're doing a top 10. We're going to rank it. We might even share our screen and have some kind of board thingy that I see on other videos when they have ranked things. And ours is going to be super cool. It's going to be the best. It's unexpected. We're going to choose something niche and interesting.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for listening in. Talk to you next week. I'm Shock. This is Ethan. And that was Two Monkeys on a Podcast. Thank you.